What's up YouTube, this is Harvey1997 here, coming at you today with my SPYRAL deck profile. Now, I took this to locals yesterday. I technically split for first, had to leave, I had something else I had to do. We'll get into that later. I only lost one game all day out of, I played 5 games, I lost 1, and then there was the finals I didn't play. But yeah, we'll get into that afterwards. So, before I do start the deck profile, I just want to say, this is a somewhat budget variant of the deck, in that it's more budget than most deck lists would be, but it's my budget. As in, for example, I have an Ash Blossom in here, even though it's an expensive card. However, I was only able to pick up 1 when it was cheap, so I only have 1 copy of it. That's what I mean by my budget. So, but it is not perfected, obviously, but there are a lot of things in here that I definitely think budget players could try out, and as well as meta players. Like, competitive, 100% gotta be totally perfected in order to play it. There are some things in here that can be taken into account. There are a couple things I would like to add in later, but we'll get to that afterwards. So, onto the deck profile. We're running the standard 12 SPYRAL lineup of 3 copies of Super Agent, 3 copies of Quick Fix, 3 copies of Drone, Last Resort, Master Plan, and Sleeper. There's nothing I would change about these. I think it's already been kind of solved that those are the best ratios. Then we have our hand traps. And this deck is not totally geared to going second, but I am very concerned about my going second game against SPYRAL, so that's why I have so many hand traps and things like board wipes. So, 1 copy of DD Crow for the Recital Starling, 1 Max C, 1 Ash Blossom, again, because I only have the 1, as well as, same thing for like the 2 Droll and Lockbirds. I'd play a full playset if I had them, but I don't, so we're doing that. And 3 copies of Ghost Ogre, which this card is actually very underrated in the SPYRAL matchup. I was not initially playing it, because I thought, it's garbage, it doesn't stop the problem. But if you resolve this against Double Helix, it actually can make a world of difference. Because all they can do is, like, they can, like, add a Super Agent and then special summon him if they haven't already done that earlier in the turn. And then they can do all their other stuff. But not getting that Master Plan means, unless they hard drew a Resort or Sleeper, they're not getting that Sleeper on the field. And that's crucial to winning the duel. Ghost Ogre is actually a lot better than what I initially gave it credit for. And what many other people do as well. No, I've considered Psyframe Gear, Gamma. I don't really like the card. I definitely understand seeing the reason for it, but I'm just not a fan of playing the driver. That's the main thing. I think it has potential, but also not having to have monsters on your board, it makes it a little restrictive, so that's why I'm not playing it. So, anyway, on to spells. Field spell engine of 3 resort, 3 terraforming. Set rotation's kind of garbage right now because it's like, it doesn't really do much for you. It's pretty much just extra copies of resort. And at that point, I'd rather just get one of these and then, from there, get another one from the master plan. That's really it. Aside from that, I've been considering adding a single copy of Dragon Ravine without set rotation, just with terraforming, adding a Dragon Ravine and Destrudo, but I don't know, I will likely be doing that to test it out, but I'm not sure how well it's going to go. It worked for the guy who won YCS London, so who knows, might work for me. We're running 2 copies of SPYRAL Gear Big Red, because I know some people only run 2, but it's so important to have more than 1 of these if you want to try and make it past like turn 3 of the duel. Because when when it gets to that point of your opponent stops you with a hand trap and then you stop them with your hand trap, you need another one of these for your next turn. Otherwise, you're not going to be able to go anywhere close to as explosive as you'd like to be. Staple card. We run it until it's banned. Plain and simple. 3 machine dupe because it's retarded. So good. 1 for 1 because it's an extra copy of the Quick Fix and an extra copy of Drone, so why not? Foolish, extra copy of Quick Fix, potentially send your Drone to recycle Super Agent, send the Super Agent to, bring him back and get your Quick Fixes back out. You can even actually, one thing I did wind up doing was I wound up, because I could not access another copy of Resort, because it got destroyed, what I wound up actually having to do was I sent Sleeper with Foolish Burial, and then I used Firewall to add him back to my hand so I could special summon him, and that was insane. Very, very good thing to know how to do with this card. You can also send Maxi, Ash Blossom, Droll, whatever you want to do. You can send them with Foolish and then Firewall it back. It's hilarious when you can pull those off. And it's very, very strong. Now we're running 2 copies of Double Summon. I don't really want to see the third copy of it, but I like to. Want to see it sometime, not all the time. You know the memes. Good card, though. Soul Charge. I might cut this, honestly. It's not as good as what I would like it to be. It's like it makes bad hands good, and it makes the good hands a little good, like a little bit better, but you don't really need Soul Charge to make them that much better. It's just kind of like overextending for the most part, and if you're under something that you would really need this for, like under a Droll or Maxi, this isn't really going to help you there. I don't know, I'm likely going to wind up cutting this card, though. I'm not really liking it. And then I'm main decking 2 board wipes, Raigeki and Dark Hole, because without having as many hand traps as I would like to have, I feel these are necessary so that I don't get wiped out by, going first boards. Because this deck, when I was playing the mirror match yesterday, I wound up choosing to go second, and it worked very well for me. And ironically, my opponent in Game 3, he actually did the same thing, making me go first. And it did work out for me that time, but it was a very grindy Game 3. I just happened to have a better hand, and he didn't really open enough hand traps, so yeah. But I do like these in the main deck very much. Then the last traps, 1 utility wire, I would not run more than this. And 1 copy of Rescue, I really want to bump this up to 2, because I'm sick and tired of drawing into my 1 copy and then not being able to go even more plus off of Master Plan. But on the flip side of that, by adding a second one, I'm even more likely to draw into it off of Master Plan, or before Master Plans, I don't know. It's the power V consistency thing as well. Having the second copy would make plays much stronger, but I also feel like it's just a little, again, just kind of overextending. You don't really need the second copy to do such wombo combos. If you have the one already good, like one already in play, you're good. Also, a really good play I like to do with this card is you can banish it during your opponent's turn, or your turn, whatever, it's chainable, to special summon a Spiral. You can special summon Super Agent, and then pop their spell or trap card on their turn. Specifically, Spiral Resort. That's the best one to do. You have to chain it on their activation of the card, not the activation of the effect. But even so. Yeah, I like Rescue a lot. On to the extra deck, and then we'll do the side deck last. Running 2 copies of Spiral Double Helix. I could see the reason for the third, but I've not needed him. I haven't even had the chance to recycle him with Drone yet, honestly. I just feel like 2 is more than enough. 2 copies of Firewall Dragon. I'm not sure that I actually went into the second one more than 1 time. In a lot of practicing, it's really just I make like 1, maybe 2 if I open the dupe combo and there's no hand traps. But I don't know, it's more just to have the second copy in case of disruption and so you can recur stuff. 1 Borreload Dragon, aka number 11 version 2. Good lord, when you take something with Borreload, you better win that turn, or you better be taking their Spiral Sleeper, otherwise you're going to be in for a bad time. Because if you're not careful, they can Borreload your Borreload, and then take another thing with their Borreload, which is now, or yours, which is now theirs, and then attack again, and it's just not good when that happens. Bad things happen at that point. Plus, this card it's hard to get over for some decks, and taking Sleeper with this is the dumbest thing in this entire deck, because if you take someone's Sleeper, you can destroy it with its own effect to destroy 2 of their cards, and then afterwards, the Sleeper is going to destroy their entire board because of its effect. Yeah, that does work. It's dumb. But yeah, Borreload's really good. Alright, next, for Link 3s, we have Decode Talker, Gaia Saber, and Ningirsu. I did not make Gaia Saber. I probably will cut him. He's just kind of the filler until we get Trigate. Decode I made a lot. He's very strong. And then Ningirsu, I actually see the reason for him. He just didn't come up for me. I do think it's kind of necessary until we get more things for the extra deck space. But yeah, I don't know. Good in theory, it just didn't come up. Then our Link 2s, we have Ib and Proxy Dragon, both very good. I wouldn't play any more or less of either. On to our rank 1s. We have Lyrilush Recital Starling, Sylvan Princess Sprite, and Ghost Rig Dullahan. I did not go into Dullahan, but I have so much extra space in here, it's okay. Like, I had an extra couple of slots, so I was like, why not? But, yeah. And lastly, rank 4, Baguska, to finish off our Xyzes. So that is a 14 card extra deck, and that is all that I had figured out yesterday. So I was like, well, what could I put in its place? I am citing a Ghost Reaper, so I thought, sure, let's put in an Ancient Fairy Dragon. Because if you're not aware, if you haven't had the situation coming up, using a Ghost Reaper to hit an Ancient Fairy Dragon after someone pays 4,000 life points for a Destrudo, that can be crippling, especially if they don't have another follow-up, because then they've got that Destrudo just blank on their board, which sure, he can be used as link material, but that means they also have to find a way to get double Helix out without the use of Ancient Fairy, which is tough, because they've likely used Dragon Ravine and a discard, and they've only got like 2 cards left in their hand at that point, and likely one of them is not an extender, with, you know, only 2 cards left. So yeah, that was my reason for Ancient Fairy. Funny enough, I did actually wind up at one point having the potential to synchro summon it with a Ghost Ogre. It didn't happen. It was suboptimal to do so, and I couldn't. So I could, how do I say? It would have required me to successfully resolve my Super Agent on a blind guess. I did not. And then the following turn, I still could have, but at that point, it would have been really bad too. So I went for other things, but the option was still there. And onto the side deck. 1 copy of Ghost Reaper and Winter Cherries. This was not a budget call. I have 2 more of these sitting in my binder. I just really didn't like it in testing. I like the 1 copy of it because if you open 1, then yeah, you hit the double helix, hit the Ancient Fairy, hit the Firewall, Borreload, whatever. But that's about it. I don't want to see more than 1, ever. If you don't open it, you likely won't draw into it anyway, so it's fine. Then I played a Kaiju engine for Humongous, Gameciel, Dogoran, and Kaiju Slumber. These were actually all pretty good. Like them a lot. They're also incredibly helpful in both the SPYRAL matchup, because, you know, you can tribute over Sleeper, and you get another board wipe. And they're also really good against rogue decks. Not so much against things like Pendulum Magician, but it's whatever. We have a good enough matchup against them anyway. 3 copies of System Down. This is really just for my locals, because I know there's ABC, there's Cosmo, things like that. Yeah, that's the only reason I'm really running them. I'm not sure what I'll take out for them really, but yeah. Then we have 3 copies of Cosmic Cyclone. I thought about Twin Twisters, but I feel like the only things I really want Twin Twisters against would be the same things I put Cyclone in for. And sure, the discard can help sometimes, but the banish is just so much better. Then for our traps, running 3 copies of Dimensional Barrier and Unending Nightmare. Unending Nightmare is for really anything, and I'm going first. Like, just about any deck this can be sided against. Like, it can be sided against SPYRAL to hit resorts. It can be, and Last Resort, actually. Because you can hit Resort, and then they can't protect it, so you can hit Last Resort as well. This can be brought in against Pendulum Magicians for obvious reasons. True Draco to keep Diagram off. Invoked to keep off Magical Meltdown. Just, there's a lot of utility in this card. It has a lot of different purposes. Then Barrier, it's just kind of, it's mainly for Pendulum Magicians, but it's very generic in what it can do as well. So, yeah, 3 barriers. I do not have evenly matched. I was going to say unevenly matched, but that really is what the card is, but it's not its actual name. So yeah, that is going to do it for this deck profile, guys. Yeah, as I was saying, I do not have evenly matched, just budget constraints, really. I'd like to have a playset, but I don't know. If I did have a full playset, I'm not certain how good it would be. A lot of people at YCS London this weekend actually were not playing it, which I thought was a little interesting, but yeah, even so, I really, really like this deck. I also love Sleeper as a card. I think this is the most skill-intensive card in the mirror match, because making this too early can really cost you a game if it gets stolen by Borload. Other than that, the mirror match really sucks. Yeah, it's just not fun. But, oh, and I guess I'll go over my matchups really quick. I played against Blue Eyes, Pendulum Magicians, let's see, Cosmo, I believe. See, that's, yeah, Draco Cosmo. Masterpiece is not a big deal for this deck at all. And Subterrors in round 4. Subterrors I did actually lose against, but that's what happens when they open Max C both games, or both games that they won, and I brick one of those 2 games. The other one I don't totally brick, but it's like, I'm not just going to activate Machine Dupe under Max C, so I lose. And then Top Cut, I wound up playing against Spirals. I beat him 2-1. And then I had to split again in finals, like I had mentioned before. So yeah, I enjoyed the deck as a whole, though. So you guys tell me in the comment section below what you think about Spirals, or specifically my build, if there's anything you would like to point out about the deck. Tell me if you like the playstyle of Spirals, if you don't like it. I'm not a big fan of how it's really just kind of set up, and I pray they don't have a hand trap going first. But it is what it is, guys. It's the best deck right now for a reason. So as I said, you tell me in the comment section below what you think about this video. As always, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe for all my future content, and I'll catch you in my next video.